Hey guys, this is Larfen. Welcome to another episode of my video CnC series. I'm going to be starting off with a replay from Complexity called Breaking a Sweat. It's a manipulation into a little bit of a madman thingy and into a pose. So we're going to take a look at this. Alright. So, starts out a little spinny opener and then swings his leg back and sort of just lifts Yuke up by his torso. Good lift, I like it. Light, just lifts him right up. It's real good. Got a lot of upward momentum and it looks really nice. This next part I don't like that much though. I don't like how he scrapes these feet. I mean, it could be said that he's going for like a little bit more manipulation here, but it really, and I think he is really, because it does help Yuke sort of spin forward so he can come up and get the grab later on. However, I would like those hits to like have a bit more of an effect on Yuke than they do right now, because as it is at this time, it sort of just looks like he's tapping his feet and it's not really doing much, just sort of tapping them. Like, I'd like the hits to have a bit more influence over Yuke's trajectory in order for them to be good manipulating hits. I mean, they do help, but I just want them to look like they help, you know what I mean? But anyway, so he goes up, really nice spin, and this grab I actually don't mind that much because he integrates it really well into his spin and it's just really smooth and it helps him just complete the spin, and I have no problems with it. He does it really nicely. So I mean, yeah, I don't always hate it when someone grabs before they do a dismemberment. You just need to do it good, like this. So he gets the decap kick with the peck, and then he brings up this other leg for another peck hit, gets a grab. Just good follow-ups, good, smart follow-ups. I'm not a big fan of that chest dismemberment at the very end, though, because he pulls it off and just sort of, I mean, yeah, technically hits Yuke's head, but it's not really that much of a skeet, since Yuke's head is basically even in arm's reach at this point in the replay. So it's not really much of a skeet and doesn't add much. So I'm not... And also that last chest dismemberment doesn't really flow that well. It's not part of the main combo. If he had just dropped that torso piece at the end of the replay and just not dismembered the chest, I think that would have led to a little bit more of a cohesive replay. And then he does a nice little spin in the air and falls down to a pose. So overall, this is actually a pretty good manipulation lift thing in the Madman. I actually really like it a lot. I mean, like I said, there are a couple things I didn't like the little foot tapping at the beginning and that last dismemberment. But overall, this is a pretty solid replay. Our next replay is going to be Duck by Manly Potato. It's a little Madman Majiggy with a skeet at the end. And so we're going to take a look at this. Alright, so starts off with a little goofy ass opener. Nothing... I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. And I mean, there's just nothing that, like... I mean, it is interesting, but it's just like, it somehow isn't at the same time. Like, he's got this little airwalk thing, and just sort of wraps around. But I do really like that decap kick that he gets out of the opener. It's really clever, and it just sort of comes out, and it's right there. I love how he just sort of sneaks that decap in there. And I like how he lands and then comes up and punches. I like the landing, but I feel like the punch could have been executed better. Like so he lands and he just gets this grab here and then brings his fist up for a core. And I don't really like how he grabs with one hand then brings his other hand up to punch it. I even never really like the look of that move because he's just sort of like clapping his hands together. And I feel like it doesn't have a lot of punch behind it. No pun intended. But he comes up with that core and then brings around a hook for both the arms. Good option. I do like the hook. And then he does this really nice movement for that skeet. I think it's really interesting how he managed to do that, because he gets the momentum break on the peck, and then with the same motion he just brings his arm back and backhand skeets the chest piece at it. And so I really like how that breaking and throwing movement was all very fluid and together. And I think that's one of the highlights and one of the most creative parts of this replay. But overall, like, it's pretty good, but it's just like some of the movements are not like, I don't want to fault them for not being hype, but I feel like they should be hyper. Just like look cooler. Like, try and show off a little bit more. Do something fucking crazy. Next replay is going to be a manipulation from Ezio called Tsunami Part 1. I'm not sure how this is a Part 1 to anything, but I guess that's just how it is. And he says at the end Part 2 is coming soon, but I'm not sure how there's like a sequel. This seems like its own self-contained thing. But anyway, so it's manipulation. Starts out pretty close and just gets right into it and sort of sweeps out that bottom leg with his right leg. And I really like that opener. It's really kind of clever and creative. He like lifts Yuke up by his shins, which you don't really see that often. Normally when you see manipulations, people will either lift Yuke up by the crotch or like his armpit. But Ezio goes for the shins, but it works really nicely for him. And then he gets a more normal hit and pops him up by his torso with that second kick. And so that's a really nice lift. I like the double kick with his right leg. It looks really nice, and he just makes it look really good. I like it. And then he sort of maneuvers, gets some nice spins, positions himself below Yuke, and gets a nice little grab to boom hit. The grab I feel like could have been executed better, but it allows for a really nice spin, so I don't mind it too much. But I feel like the grab isn't as good as it could be. And then he lands into this really nice pose, and this is just an overall really good replay. I don't really have that much that I dislike about it besides that grab right there. But he has there's very nice movement here, a very nice hit, really good startup kick. Just everything is overall pretty good with this, and I don't really have much of a problem with it. Next up, we got a replay from my friend Internet called Slam Bammered. This is a janky-ass replay, but it's pretty neat looking, and I really like how he's sort of some wonky-ass movement, but it looks really nice. So, starts off back-to-back, and he gets a little tap on Yuke's shin there. Nothing, doesn't really do anything, so I'm not sure if I completely like the fact that he hit Yuke's shin, but it doesn't really detract at all either, I don't think. It's just sort of there, and it's just part of the replay. The real start of manipulation is when he brings his right leg back and gets a nice little sweep-esque thing under his leg. And he just is really maneuvering all around Yuke and showing that he has really good control right here. Like, he gets that sweep, pops up the arm, sort of swings himself under, gets a nice spin, and then pulls himself around and gets a backhand that gets the glute and pec. So I really like how he maneuvers his body around Yuke, how like he's just dancing around him, playing with him, which is exactly what I feel like a manipulation should be. So I feel like he really did that very well. So he goes in and gets that backhand. I just noticed there that he did use a grab hit for that pec, which makes sense now that I see it, because it doesn't look like it should really happen. Like, if you look at that punch, it really doesn't have much business breaking that pec. And so I'm not a big fan of that grab hit there, but it is what it is. And then that decap punch is real nice. He just brings that arm right up and pops it off. So good stuff to him there, and drops into this little twinkle toes pose. So overall, I actually really like this replay a lot. The manipulation is solid as fuck, as you'd expect from Internet, being as he's one of my favorite manipulators at the time. And this is just a really solid replay, minus that grabby hit, and the punch at the end looks a little bit awkward, just because he's just sort of flopping his legs around there, you can see. But overall, this is a pretty sweet replay that I like. And our last replay for today is going to be Pound Cakes by Strikas. It's a little Sambo decap thing, followed by a little cork. I think that's a cork. I'm not too big on the tricking vocabulary, sorry. But, so let's take a look at this. So, Sambo replay. he comes down, and it makes a kind of awkward-ish opener. He lets his shin and knee touch the ground, and normally, like, I don't know if you guys notice this, but good replay makers, you'll see that they almost always just touch the ground with their hands and feet. I know I do, at least. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with touching the ground with something besides your hands and feet, but I feel like there's something to be said that there's a reason that people do that. It's because it just makes it look like you have more of an idea of what you're doing, because hands and feet are the most efficient ways to move your body around on the floor, I mean. So I don't really like that he lets his knee and shin touch the ground there. It looks a little bit sloppy, and he doesn't really use it for anything. That's the real big problem with doing that, because if he had used that leg for something, then I might have forgiven it a little bit more, but he just sort of brings it back up and spins on it. I do like how he gets a nice little launch into a really good just 180 spin that lands in that decap kick. It's a really solid spin, really big. What I don't like is that the decap kick also gets a peck with it. In my opinion, if like the decap's the only thing you're doing, you shouldn't just make it only the decap, because by adding the peck, it just sort of makes the dismemberments asymmetrical. And I know asymmetry isn't inherently bad, but I feel like if you're gonna be breaking off the head, just make it the head, or make it a boom. You can do that too. But if you're either make it just a decap or a boom hit, or follow it up. One of those three. But if you're just getting a head and a peck, don't agree with that. So anyway, after he gets that decap, he sort of falls over and does this little drunken-looking cork at the end that he doesn't land. And, I mean, the cork looks nice, but the setup is just so odd, and he doesn't land it. I feel like it doesn't really have that much of a place in the replay. I feel like if he just landed after that kick and stuck the landing, it would look really nice and look really cool. But that cork at the end just sort of doesn't really do much, and it just sort of is him messing around, and it takes away from makes the replay feel a little bit less professional, I guess. But overall, it's pretty nice. I just don't like how he just sort of seems to not have his balance sometimes, and the choice of getting both the peck and the decap. But that's it for this episode of my CnC. So send in your replays. Once again, my Yahoo account. I'll talk about them, hopefully. And I'll see you guys next week.